Hi, it's Andrew from Acuity Auto Redact. Welcome to the Data Protection Weekly podcast, where we wrap up all the biggest issues affecting data protection professionals in the UK each week. Okay, let's start this episode by setting the scene. It's a Monday morning. You open your inbox and you see a Freedom of Information request or a Data Subject Access request, but something doesn't feel quite right. It's 4,000 words long. It repeats the same phrases again and again. It's asking for data that you wouldn't process, and it will be obvious you wouldn't process. Then it goes on to cite High Court rulings and Supreme Court judgments that never actually happened. Well, I think we all know what this is. It's the new and depressing world of the AI-generated information request. And this month, you may be aware that the Information Commissioner's Office has given some guidance on how we handle requests that have been generated by AI. So instead of just reading the guidance, I thought it was best to reflect on 5 critical lessons we can think about now that the guidance exists and now that it's out there. So, the first thing that we need to remember is, as much as it is so tempting to do this, AI generated does not mean invalid, and we need to remember this. It's the golden rule. The Information Commissioner's Office is very explicit about this. You cannot ignore an email because you go, haha, this smells like ChatGPT. I've had people tell me in my professional life that they have had an email that they think has been written by AI that's pretended to come from me that I've sent. And I've gone, no, I wrote that. So we can never prove something is actually AI generated. We often have our suspicions, but it's hard to prove. So you can't just throw it in the trash because you think, oh, a bot wrote it. That's lesson 1. You still have to process it. And I think that's the one we have to remember. But lesson 2, you have the permission to correct the machine. So AI tools, large language models, are really, really good at finding patterns between words and working out what comes next. But that doesn't mean that they are immune from hallucination. Hallucinations are where AIs make things up. A lot of work has been put in to try to reduce the probability of hallucinations, and AIs are a lot better at this now. They hallucinate less frequency, but when they are given complex requests, the risk of hallucination typically will increase. So you shouldn't be intimidated by hallucinated legalese or pseudo-legalese. The ICO recommends that you actually politely push back. Tell the requester, I'm not sure that is the actual state of the law, or actually, I think AI may have misrepresented that law and that legal judgment about what we provide. Can you clarify your stance? Can you tell them that that isn't the position of the law and they need to clarify it? Now, going a little bit off the ICO's advice, with the stop the clock rules, if there are parts of that request that appear wholly invalid or that don't seem to match with reality, you can turn around and go, well, actually, could you clarify these things? I'm not sure about the scope of the request or on what basis this is being asked exactly. Could you clarify? And, we'll resume your request once you do. That's something that you're worth remembering. The next thing to remember is lesson 3, which is that your statutory shields are still in operation. So AI does create a bit of scope creep. It requests, anything that the person sometimes asks it to request. If you type into ChatGPT, file a request to, your local council to provide the entire moon on a stick, it will try to do that unless it's got really intelligent guardrails. So the ICO reminds us to really remember, lean on and use the statutory limits when requests come in. So if you're a public authority, that could mean using section 12 cost limit when AI makes a request that's too broad. It isn't financially feasible to undertake that request. Or section 14 if an AI is being used to spam you with essentially repetitive requests that are vexatious. For private sector DPOs, and I know a lot of the audience work in the private sector, you can always use the defence that the request is manifestly unfounded or excessive, Often people think that the law is set up so that if they just keep using an AI to send request after request, that means that someone has to do it. And, we know, obviously, as information governance professionals, that isn't usually the case. And we can start to look at how we can justify the grounds that a request is unfounded or excessive in order to protect ourselves. The next thing that the ICO recommend, and I actually really, really like this advice, I think it's very wise, is to remember that the prompt is probably going to be coming into your website's contact us form, or perhaps a portal where they submit requests if you've got one on your website for data protection requests already set up. So the ICO has actually drafted some copy that you can put directly on your website's contact us pages and data protection request portals, and it's all about expectation management. So it's just a simple warning, but I like it, which, something along the lines of using AI to draft your request. Please be aware that AI often introduces errors and creates overly complex requests that will delay our response. Please check your final wording. So that can often work as quite a nice little psychological thing for the user to remember. They've probably drafted it in an AI and committed the old AI cardinal sin of not reading the output. So if you just have that ready just above the submit button, they might go, oh, actually, this request might be complete nonsense, or might have things in that aren't true, that it's going to really make it a difficult request. Maybe I should get a professional to draft it, or even just read it myself and reduce the scope. It's about that proactivity, isn't it? If we make sure that we try to be very proactive, anticipating that the request could be AI generated, then we can warn the user of the risks and essentially stop it happening in the first place. And the last thing that we should remember with AI and dealing with the massive influx of requests is the double-edged sword of discoverability. So if your staff are using AI tools for work purposes, perhaps to summarize data or to help draft a response, the ICO does now explicitly state that the information generated, along with the prompts that were typed in, can be requested as part of a freedom of information request or a subject access request. So if your AI tool keeps a chat history, this is recorded information and it's kept on the record. And, if you keep that for years and years and years and years and years, if somebody says, I want all information you have on me, including anything you've asked an AI about me or used an AI to process my data, there is a lot that could come back. So it's worth remembering that. So these are the 5 lessons. Validity is still, as we've said, king. You need to make sure that you correct and challenge hallucinations, and you use your statutory shields to make sure that AI doesn't go overboard and drown you in requests. Preempt the problem on your website and warn people before they submit a DSAR or a freedom of information request that there is a serious risk that the information and the request that they're putting in might contain hallucinations. They should manually check it, or perhaps get a professional to check it, to stop the issue occurring in the first place. And do remember that your own prompts that you use to help facilitate your requests are discoverable. And if you are thinking of using AI to reduce your workload when processing freedom of information requests and subject access requests, just a reminder about Acuity Auto Redact, which is the company that I'm a founder of. And what we specialize in is a very low cost AI supported tool. We make sure that we put data protection at the core of making this tool secure and as good as possible, and it will automatically carry out redactions on documents for you, but leaves you in the driving seat. You critically can make sure that anything that it selects is unselected or customize how the request runs. It's all about saving you time when redacting documents, because we know how long that can take. So check out acuityautoredact.com, or just search Google for Acuity Auto Redact, and why not give a free account a go? We give 200 pages to anyone who signs up completely free. We treat you like a paid customer to do a few jobs to see how good the product can be. Well, that's everything for this week. If you found it useful, make sure you have subscribed to Data Protection Weekly on your podcast provider. And up until that time, stay compliant, stay curious, and I'm looking forward to talking again next week. Thank you.
Data Protection Weekly.